This is CBC Here and Now.
Most people think, oh, well, what an eyesore. To me, this is a treasure. Hopefully, in the near future, maybe Trinity Loop will be back up and running.
Tonight, meet the woman who wants to breathe new life into the Trinity Loop.
Made me feel good because I went and helped people that were less fortunate than I am, because some people lost everything.
Taking their teamwork to the streets of Port aux Basques, minor hockey players clean up their community. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We'll get to those stories shortly, but first, Newfoundland and Labrador has welcomed more than 1,000 Ukrainian refugees since Russia invaded that country last February. Now, one newcomer is bringing Ukrainian news to local airwaves. Last week, MUN's campus radio station launched We Are From Ukraine, a 30-minute show that covers Eastern European news and explores cultural curiosities.
CHMR is a campus and community radio station. We're run mostly by volunteers, members of the community, anyone who wants to get involved.
Але не тільки. Серед коронних ньюфаундлендських страв перше місце займає, до речі, треба спитати в людей, як правильно читати цей фігідаф.
Це, напевно, фігідаф.
Фігідаф?
So a couple of weeks ago, we got a phone call from the Association for New Canadians, who have been greeting the Ukrainian newcomers to town. They said they had someone who had some radio experience and was interested in getting on the air. So Natalia showed up along with her daughter. She was interested in starting a radio program for the Ukrainian community here in the city, a Ukrainian language program, and we were just thrilled.
Але з незалежними настроями. Ньюфаундленд і Лабрадор – наймолодша провінція Канади у 1940 році.
It is extremely important to me here because radio is my life. It's something that I have been doing all my life. It's something I do good. When the war started, I thought that I'm never going to be able to do this again. And I was ready to do all kinds of job here just to have a job and to get by. And then I thought that it's Canada. They have Ukrainians here and maybe they would like to listen to what I have to say and maybe they would like to have a Ukrainian program here. And so I like to think that I am making the lives of Ukrainian immigrants here a bit more interesting and a bit more happy. I talk about the news of Ukraine and about the Canadian news, news of Newfoundland, and also about some cultural differences maybe, and about some cultural curiosities that the listeners would like to listen to.
I don't know.
I think even for folks who don't speak Ukrainian, being able to tune in and hear members of our community, our broader community here in St. John's, hear them talking in their first language, to hear what that language sounds like. I think that is really important for not just for the Ukrainian community, but for for all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians.
Відсотки населення – це менше, ніж будь-які.
Well, hockey players in Port aux Basques have been logging some long hours, though not at the stadium. Players and their families are helping with relief efforts in the wake of post-tropical storm Fiona. As Here and Now's Troy Turner reports, teammates aren't just helping the community, they're also helping each other.
There might not be any ice on the Bruce II Arena in Port aux Basques, but under-13 players are already coming together as a team. Chevrolet Canada pressed pause this year on its Good Deeds Cup. The nationwide contest challenges hockey players across the country to help their community. But following Fiona, minor hockey players in Port aux Basques felt compelled to do something.
Through minor hockey, you want your kids to learn how to work as a team and, give back and just be well-rounded people. So when this happened to our town, what better way to give back is to come together as a team.
Kira Richards isn't surprised the team wanted to help.
Some of these volunteers as kids were giving back 10, 12 hours a day, and I think that comes back to the parents, and the parents wanted them to get involved because it was a disaster that happened to our town, and I guess as a parent you just want to raise a well-rounded individual, and volunteering and giving back means a lot to us.
Bella Seward is one of 2 players displaced by the storm. Even still, she didn't want to hang back on the bench, but wanted to help those hit even harder than she was.
It made me feel like good because I went and helped people that were like less fortunate than I am, because some people lost everything.
Helping out is a lesson taken straight from the ice.
Porter Basque is a really big hockey community. A lot of people play hockey, and well, we just come to support our other players and watch them as much as we can.
Becoming good individuals, and like we're growing up now, so we're gonna need to like help out, not only volunteering, but like we're gonna need to help out just doing it.
Well, once the ice is put on here at the Bruce 2 Arena, there will be plenty of hockey action for the U13s. And besides that, they also plan some more fundraising and more charity work in aid of the Salvation Army. Troy Turner, CBC News, Porta Basque.
Well, staying with the Southwest Coast, police are investigating the sudden death of a man in his 20s in Porta Basque. Local RCMP say the man's body was found outside in a residential area near Main Street West on Saturday afternoon. They say the Major Crime Unit, forensics, and police dog services are all involved in that investigation, as well as the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. Now, that investigation, on top of the stress from Fiona, prompted Mayor Brian Button to make this post on Twitter last night. He says, "Our town is spending too much time in the news for all the wrong reasons." Button is asking people to stay strong and says he prays for better and brighter days ahead.
Well, we're in the end of October, one more week left, and take a look at these temperatures today. Burgeo, 16.2 degrees this afternoon. That broke a record from 2007. And 5 other areas, particularly Wabush, 17.2 degrees is what you topped out today, breaking that old record of around 16.2 in 2017. Now, there is lots more of this heat sticking around, particularly in Lab West. Take a look at this. Temperatures between 15 and 17 degrees, average high 0 degrees this time of year. You'll see more of those temperatures, though, as we head towards the weekend. But these warm temperatures are going to continue for a good chunk of the island as well. Some areas through central and maybe even the west coast may break the 20-degree mark through Tuesday, even into Wednesday, and we'll see that heat stick around as well into Thursday. I'll get into the full forecast coming up.
Hi, I'm Conor O'Brien from the Irish Descendants. On Sunday, October the 30th, we're going to be gathered here at the Mary Brown Centre for a tremendous benefit concert called We Stand on Guard Again, in aid of those people who are affected by Hurricane Fiona on the southwest coast. It's going to be a star-studded lineup of some of the best entertainers in Newfoundland. Come out and support this show. Very worthwhile cause, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Well, an audit of operations at motor vehicle registration has revealed a high potential for fraud within the agency. Those details are in a report that was released in 2020. CBC News obtained a copy through accessed information. Now, the government's internal audit division investigated offices in Mount Pearl and Grand Falls, Windsor. The final report lists 8 instances where the risk of fraud was rated as medium or high. Auditors found there was a high risk that car dealerships weren't properly passing on customers' registration fees to motor vehicle registration offices, and that employees could embezzle funds. In 2019, the Mount Pearl office verified the payments of only 4 out of 100 dealers. There were also risks of stolen license plates, invented overtime, and undocumented annual leave. Service and L Minister Sarah Studley says all but 4 of the 18 recommendations from the audit are now in place.
It wasn't a result of any fraud, it was just kind of normal compliance checking. And I think the things that they found in our area are quite, I guess, expected of any kind of area that serves the public. They deal with a lot of money. And so, I think what they did was very appropriate and very helpful.
Well, shifting to health news now, there's a COVID-19 outbreak on 2 floors of the hospital in Corner Brook. To try to control the spread, Western Health is limiting visitors on units 3A and 3B to 1 consistent support person. The hospital is working with the families of patients to determine who that person should be. The situation will be reassessed on November 1st. Well, an infamous anniversary is being remembered by basketball fans in this province. 19 years ago, a young LeBron James was moments away from making his NBA debut in, of all places, St. John's. But it wasn't to be. The surreal fiasco remains an unforgettable story, but now a man who was in the stands as a teenager is campaigning for a do-over. Here and now, Zach Gowdy explains.
You know, it's a good story. It's a good story in the sense that it's legendary and how it all came together and fell apart.
And here we are 19 years later and we're still talking about it.
October 23rd, 2003. In St. John's, it was going to be a night to remember. The city was hyped up for its first ever NBA game. The Toronto Raptors, with their superstar Vince Carter, taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers with this guy playing his first NBA game. Maybe you've heard of him. LeBron James? The sellout crowd had come from all over the province to see history in the making.
I'm originally from Pasadena, so me and a bunch of friends from high school, we scraped together enough money for tickets and for a hotel room, and then we convinced a father to drive us out. So we came out, big basketball fans our whole lives, and then you get a chance to see LeBron James debut. What's not to love about that?
But as the fans poured into the stadium, then known as Mile 1, something was wrong, and the pros knew it.
I'm Glenn Grunwald. I'm the former general manager of the Toronto Raptors and the New York Knicks. So I had walked into the arena late with the owner, Larry Tannenbaum, and the place was buzzing. It was great. But then I noticed that all the ball boys were on the floor with towels mopping things up. And what's going on? What's the problem?
The problem was that an unusually humid October day, combined with the ice under the floorboards, was creating condensation, a slippery mess all over the court.
So you go to the stadium, you're amped up, players are warming up, and then there's a delay and another delay, and then there's a bunch of kids on the floor with towels wiping up something. We didn't know what was going on.
Then the game got delayed as they tried to, mop up the moisture, and it kind of just sort of, the air went out of the balloon kind of very slowly.
Finally, after running out of towels and ideas, they thrust the mic into Glenn Grunwald's hand to say the words no one wanted to hear.
It is with great regret that we can't play this game.
Instead of getting to see the greatest player of his era play his first NBA game, the fans got their money back.
Thank you very much.
19 years later, Matthew Brake and his buddies were reminiscing about the game that wasn't in their group text when Brake had an idea. Maybe he could convince the Raptors to come back and try again.
Anything's possible on Twitter. So you're thinking of a good hashtag, and how can you associate the Raptors with Newfoundland? So you come up with the idea, hashtag Raptors to the Rock. And then, Carl English quote tweeted it, said he was going to work on it. And then Vince Carter quote tweeted it and said he remembered that day, and it was just, it was phenomenal.
Next year will be the 20th anniversary of that wet and wild night. The stadium has a new name. The Raptors have won an NBA championship, but King James is still playing. There's still time for a legendary do-over.
Traditional Indian songs, dances, and attire were on display at Memorial University in St. John's over the weekend. About 100 people attended an event that marked Diwali, India's biggest and most important holiday of the year. The Indian Youth Association at MUN held its annual 5-day Diwali festival. It's also called the Festival of Light and is seen as a way to share Indian culture with others. Well, Signal Hill played host to arguably the hardest run in North America, the 20-kilometer stretch from Cape Spear to Cabot Tower. More than 300 runners crossed the finish line yesterday morning, but no one was faster than Mark Green, who finished first, but not too far behind was Jennifer Murrin, the first female finisher and 7th overall. Also, our very own Jeremy Eaton was all dressed up to welcome runners as they crossed the finish line on top of Signal Hill.
Probably borrowed that hat from his daughter, but they had beautiful weather for that for sure. The next couple of days look gorgeous as well. I'll get into the details coming up.
Well, today, Trinity Loop is riddled with broken glass and graffiti, but Minnie Miller of Old Bonaventure sees endless potential. She's on a mission to purchase the abandoned amusement park from the province. Miller made her pitch to CBC Radio's Gavin Sims.
Relax over a hot meal in the authentic conductor's caboose. There's pony rides for all ages, as well as great accommodations. So why don't you hop on the trains of family fun at the Trinity Loop Express? All aboard!
I think Trinity Loop could be one of the biggest attractions on Newfoundland Island. If Crown Lands had given me this 5 years ago, I can guarantee you this summer would have been one of the best summers on Newfoundland Island ever. With come home year, there's no place on the Bonavista Peninsula for, say, a family with young children to go and enjoy a day out and relax at the same time. And that's what this could be. I would like to put in a trailer park, and I would like to redo the cabins. Of course, we have to have local entertainment. You have to tell everybody what Newfoundland is about. So how else would you do that other than through song and dance? I just think this place should have never went down. I think most people think, oh, well, what an eyesore. To me, this is a treasure.
What does this place mean to you? Like, what place does Trinity Loop hold in your heart?
Childhood memories for my kids. And hopefully my grandkids will get to see what my kids seen and what I seen growing up. Because like I said, I was very young myself when Trinity Loop came about. I was probably about 14 or 15 years old when Trinity Loop started. Then my kids went through here, and I bring my grandkids back here, and they said, like, you know, this must have been someplace in the day, Nan. And I'm like, if you could have only seen it.
You can pretty much look in any direction and find broken glass or a building torn to pieces. How do you fathom how much work needs to go into this?
I don't think you can. I really don't think you can, but with determination, which is something I really have, and a large circle of family and friends behind me that's willing to help me out in any which way they can, I am 100% positive that I can change this around. Hopefully, in the near future, maybe Trinity Loop will be back up and running.
Wow, what an interesting idea. You can hear Minnie Miller's full interview, which aired on CBC Radio's Weekend AM just yesterday. You can head to cbc.ca/listen to find it. You can also search for Weekend AM on the CBC Listen app. Well, here is a viral moment from this weekend's New York Yankees game. This fan happens to be from St. John's. That's the co-founder of Verifin, Brendan Brothers. And many were quick to point out that he looks a lot like former Yankee great Babe Ruth.
This clip alone has been viewed more than 600,000 times, and ESPN did a picture comparison of the two, and you have to admit, there is a resemblance.
There certainly is. A spokesperson for Verifin jokingly tells us at this time, Brothers has no comment about his newfound fame. Yeah, very, very similar.
That's amazing.
Well, before we get to the weather, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
It's nice to have you back.
Yes.
We missed you. Heather did a wonderful job.
She did. Thank you so much, Heather, for doing that. That was wonderful.
How was your honeymoon?
It was amazing. We went to Greece, but it seems I took the wind with me, so you're welcome.
Oh. Okay, so we have some wind in the forecast.
No, it was windy where I was, but it was beautiful here, so maybe a little bit of wind.
Yeah, beautiful today.
Yeah. It is absolutely stunning out there. Take a look at this picture. I just wanted to share this with you. This is from Stephenville this evening. You can see a little bit of a halo there. And yeah, it was a gorgeous day today. Some records I showed you a little bit earlier as well, but Michelle shared this photo with me on Twitter, and there's lots more where that came from as far as those warm temperatures go. Take a look at the daytime highs today, 17 degrees in the Rec House, 14 in Port aux Basques, and those numbers pretty much across the board, well above where we should be sitting this time of year. 13 degrees in St. John's, 17 in Bonavista. The hot spot was Lab City. This is showing 14, but you actually hit 17.2 degrees today. And that broke a record from 2017, and there is more heat where that came from as well. Take a look at the current conditions outside. Beautiful evening in St. John's now that the sun has set. Not a whole lot of wind to talk of either. Northeasterly, so about 7 kilometers per hour, but still sitting around 10 degrees right now. And we're going to see these light winds continue for most areas. This is where we're sitting right now. Calm in Gander. Beautiful evening for you. 7 kilometers per hour in Cartwright. A little breezy for you in Nain, around 30 kilometers per hour. But taking a look at the wind forecast over the next couple of days, as we get into tomorrow, winds will start to pick up a little bit, gusting around 40 or 50 kilometers per hour for the Avalon, otherwise between 20 and 40 for the rest of the province. But as we get into Wednesday, this is when things will start to pick up. So those winds gusting between 40 to as much as 50, even 60 kilometers per hour for parts of the northern peninsula. But right now, not a whole lot happening across the island and across the big land, really just some cloud cover. We do have some showers working their way across the maritime provinces, and that will be our weather over the next couple of days. But at this point, nothing, not a whole lot happening. And as we head through the overnight tonight, much of the same. We may see some clouds on the increase though as we get to the morning hours for a good chunk of the island, parts of Labrador, and then towards the Strait as well. But things should stay dry through the overnight, and eventually as we get into the morning hours, we'll start to see some of that cloud cover clear out. So that means as the skies clear with some light winds, temperatures will dip tonight around 6 to 7 degrees. Some areas on the northern peninsula a bit cooler, around 3 degrees, and then same thing for Labrador, but still very mild. Your daytime highs averaging around between 0 and 1 degree, and your overnight lows aren't even going to get close to that. So 5 degrees tonight for you in Lab City. And then as we head through tomorrow, any showers that are, any cloud cover that is on the horizon will clear as the day goes on. We'll likely hang on to some cloud cover though towards the coast. Along the straight northern peninsula, you may see a few showers in the mix, but overall nothing really too significant. And then we will see some of that shower activity towards the evening and overnight make its way towards the southwest coast, eventually along the south coast, and then same thing for the west as we get into the afternoon, or the overnight rather, into the early morning hours on Wednesday. Temperatures tomorrow, beautiful. 17 degrees in St. John, same thing for Gander, Grand Falls, Windsor. Those winds picking up a little bit out of the west, but those westerly winds really keeping these temperatures fairly mild, between 20 and 30 kilometers per hour. There's that shower activity I was talking about potentially along the south coast and then the northern peninsula as well. Cooler for you, 9, 10 degrees through the afternoon along coastal areas of Labrador, still hanging on to those mild temperatures. Really going to warm up though as we head through midweek. Around 11 degrees for you in Cartwright. Going to hang on to those cool temperatures for you in northern Labrador, a chance of showers as well. But take a look at the temperatures through central and western portions of the Big Land. 15 to 17 degrees, lots of sunshine. Like I said, you should be hovering around the 0 degree mark. Now we are looking at the potential for some snow moving in towards the end of the weekend. Big cool down coming as well. Temperatures back down to the single digits, more seasonable for this time of year, but I'll get into those details when I come back.
Newfoundland, so many times this happens. It's the musicians, it's the arts community that come out and sort of run the front line on putting together a big fundraiser like this.
The people who make a living entertaining, including the CBC's Johnny Harris, are striking the right chord for people on the southwest coast. We are now just days away from We Stand on Guard Again. Up next, Johnny joins us with his thoughts on why so many want to help the people of Port-aux-Basque rebuild. This Sunday, the arts community will band together to raise money for the people on the southwest coast who continue to struggle and rebuild in the aftermath of post-tropical storm Fiona. A benefit concert called We Stand on Guard Again is set to happen at the Mary Brown Centre in St. John's, with all proceeds going to the Canadian Red Cross. Now, the host of Sunday's show is a very familiar face in this province. He stars in the TV show The Murdoch Mysteries, and he hosts the comedy/reality series Still Standing on CBC. Johnny Harris joins us now from Toronto. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Carolyn.
You travel to small communities all across Canada, and you manage to find humor and optimism even in the places where people are struggling to get by. And I know a major weather event like Fiona is much different than your usual experiences, but can you talk about what you've learned about what typically happens when small communities face major hardships?
Well, at the risk of sounding cliche, it really is. This kind of thing is disastrous, but does bring out the best in people. You see people give of themselves quite selflessly. You see a real spirit of community, of volunteerism again and again in towns that have faced struggles economically or with natural disasters like this. And I think that's what we're seeing, in not just in Port aux Basques, but across the province. I mean, the fact that usually people from the community, in this sense, in Newfoundland, so many times this happens. It's the musicians, it's the arts community that come out and sort of run the front line on putting together a big fundraiser like this. And the lineup, as I'm sure you know, is fantastic. Shani Ganak is playing. Chris Andrews is sort of leading the charge on this, but they're playing with Bud Davidge, and then Kelly Loader and Tim Baker is going to be there. The Irish Descendants. I could go on and on.
Yeah, so many artists coming out, and you mentioned about the arts community often coming out, and this is the second time the arts community has come together for this kind of benefit concert. The last time was in 2010 for Hurricane Igor, and that's why this is called We Stand on Guard Again. But why did you want to offer up your time to do this?
Well, I didn't really know about it. I was actually watching the news when it was all happening. Still Standing. We were shooting an episode in Wabush, so in Lab West, and that's where I sort of watched the whole thing unfold, and it was difficult to watch, I think, for anybody. I think the devastation in Port aux Basques particularly was more than anybody assumed. And then I heard rumblings of a fundraiser being put together, and honestly, I was sort of flat out with work here, and I got a text from Tony Murray. So when you get a text from Tony Murray, you have to answer the call. And then I found out that this was being put together. I knew I hadn't been at the first one for Igor, and I was thrilled that schedule permitted and that I could participate this time.
You mentioned about watching some of the footage on TV while you were shooting Still Standing, and I know so many of us, that was our experience with it too, watching it all unfold on TV. Can you talk a bit more about that, what you were thinking and feeling as you were watching that damage being done, that incredible footage?
Yeah. Well, I guess the first night then I went to bed sort of not really knowing the extent of it, and then of course the next morning there was the news was more in full, and of course I had an idea of just exactly how much damage had been done, and then of course you're seeing the footage, and it's I'm sure, again, it sounds a bit cliche, but it looks like a movie. It looks like the movie they've done about the tsunami or something like this. You just see houses strewn across the road, and sheds being sort of washed into the sea, and chunks, parts of houses, and it was unbelievable. And but I think that that people are putting together this show. I think that people have already been donating money. I think it's quite impressive that people across Canada have been donating, and hopefully will continue to, as was the case with Igor, as is the case often with many disasters. We did a show, Still Standing did a show a few years ago in Fort Mac about the fire and about the evacuation there, and I just thought it was one of the most impressive things that I learned was, despite the oil sands being sort of politically divisive, that it seems that Canadians from across the whatever political spectrum donated. Everybody tried to help out, and I'm sure they will. I think it's important to get the show done now. There's always going to be new things on the news to worry about, new things that are going to have our attention. So I think right now that now is the time to sort of do a big one-off, a big show, and I think a lot of the radio stations are going to carry it. I think both major networks there are going to air it, and but yeah, I'm excited.
Johnny Harris, it's a great lineup. Good luck on Sunday. And as you mentioned, for those who can't be there in person, hopefully they'll be able to tune in to see it on TV or listen to it on radio. Thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Hey, thanks, Carolyn. Take care.
A 3-on-2 for Newfoundland, and they score! Todd Skirving's got his first of the season!
Well, as we told you Friday night, the Newfoundland Growlers kicked off their season against the Reading Royals this weekend, and the fans did not leave disappointed. The Growlers won all 3 games, including this one yesterday at the Mary Brown Centre by a score of 6-2. The team will have a few days off before they travel to Quebec to play 2 games against the Trois-Rivières Lions. Well, it's that time of year again, the annual Pumpkin Fest at Leicester's Farm Market in St. John's. The 21st annual event is well underway, and we were there yesterday to take in the festivities.
So it's just a lot of fun, actually. It's all about family. You come on out to the farm. We're having great weather for it, and there's a lot of different events. Wagon rides, the slides there, duck races, the corn maze is there, still looking great. So it's a lot of fun. You know, funny enough, we have young families come through here now that they came through as children themselves, and they're coming in with their own children now. And everyone's so happy. It's a tradition for people to come out, and it's also a great way to pass the weekend. The weather's still great. Soon enough, we're all going to be stuck inside, so they get to come outside to the farm and enjoy it, see where the food's coming from, and learn about everything farm related. Well, you know, we still got lots of pumpkins here. We got another 8 or 10 days of October. And the weather forecast is looking fantastic. So the Field of Fun, that's open from 1 o'clock on during the weekdays, and weekends it's open all day long. Wagon rides, barrel train, lots of games going on out there. So we hope to see a lot of people out.
And of course, what's a pumpkin fest without hurling pumpkins in the air? People attending this weekend's event also got to see the famous pumpkin catapult at work.
12, 11, 10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. Houston, we've had a problem.
Montreal Canadiens goaltender Carey Price says he's still in the game, at least for the time being. Price is out with knee problems and had surgery during the offseason in 2021. He's been on the team's long-term injured reserve list since September.
I don't have a plan to retire right at this moment. I'm just trying to, right now, my goal is to just be pain-free from day to day.
Price did play some games near the end of last year's regular season, but says his rehab has not been successful. He also says he's not keen on having another knee operation. The procedure has a success rate of about 50%. Price calls the situation an emotional roller coaster. He suffered a number of setbacks in his efforts to return to the ice, including taking part in the NHL's Player Assistance Program for substance abuse. Well, the Federal Competition Bureau is launching a study into the grocery business. It comes as food prices rise at their fastest rate in more than 40 years. Grocery costs shot up more than 11% last month. Now, Ottawa says it wants to see if there's something the government can do to improve competition. The Competition Bureau says it will look into pricing, barriers to entry and expansion, and what's being done in other countries to promote competition. Critics say a study doesn't go far enough, and there should be a full investigation of competitive practices in the grocery industry. Well, Rishi Sunak will be Britain's next Prime Minister. He won the leadership of the ruling Conservative Party today by default. That automatically gives him the country's top job.
It is the greatest privilege of my life to be able to serve the party I love and give back to the country I owe so much to.
Sunak was greeted by his colleagues after being declared winner. His only rival in the leadership race withdrew at the last minute. He will be Britain's third prime minister in just 2 months. His predecessor, Liz Truss, resigned after her economic plan sent financial markets into a downward spiral. Rishi Sunak, whose parents are African-born Hindus, will be the first person of color to occupy 10 Downing Street. He will become prime minister after meeting with King Charles. Well, it's a painful reality in Canadian hospitals. Every year, thousands of patients are developing bed sores. Some are so bad they can be deadly, and the number of cases is going up. Now, an Ontario family is going public after losing a loved one. Erica Johnson has their story.
We shouldn't be looking at this. Nope, because it should never have happened yet.
Alice O'Leary and her daughter Kelly pore over the names of friends and family who came to their loved one's celebration of life.
An honor to be here today celebrating your dad. You were an amazing daughter.
Ken O'Leary died last February after developing a deep bed sore at the base of his spine, a skin injury due to prolonged pressure on one spot. It developed after he was admitted to this Southern Ontario hospital to help sort out some medications.
I saw this gaping hole and his grimacing face from pain. It was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
A wound she describes as the size of an avocado. So deep it went right to the bone. But while it worsened, no hospital staff told his family for weeks.
Had I known, oh my God, we would have been on top of it right from the beginning.
Bob Wilson died after months in the same hospital 3 years earlier. He'd been admitted for a brain injury, but developed a bed sore that grew to the size of a football on his lower back.
The amount of emotions that went through us was unbelievable because we were never told, and we were there every day.
The number of pressure injuries acquired each year while in hospital is climbing steadily, largely due to the chronic nursing shortage. No time to regularly reposition bed-bound patients, critical to prevent bed sores.
Nurses have been sounding the alarm for years, saying, we're strapped here, we need help. And now, unfortunately, things are really coming to a head.
A spokesperson for Joseph Brant Hospital declined an interview request, but did say Ken O'Leary's case underscored the importance of clearly communicating with families. Families we spoke to said that's exactly what they want, and for hospitals to have enough staff to head off the problem in the first place. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
A centuries-old community in Nova Scotia is using ground-penetrating radar to search for clues about its history. Volunteers in Annapolis Royal are looking for graves of Black loyalists and their descendants that date back to the 1780s. The CBC's Brett Ruskin is there and has more on the search.
Here in Annapolis, Royal officials are digging into history, digging into the layers of the past that exist right here in this cemetery, in this graveyard. So crews right behind me here are using ground-penetrating radar, this cart that they use to pass 25 centimeter wide lanes that they go in a grid pattern this way and then this way to look beneath the ground, looking for the graves of Black loyalists. Now, Black loyalists, they were individuals who were promised, they were slaves back in the 1780s, who were promised their freedom by British forces if they agreed to fight on behalf of the British in the American Revolutionary War. So if they proved that they were loyal, hence Black loyalists, they were given their freedom. So thousands of these individuals came here to Canada, came to Nova Scotia, settled in various communities across this part of the province. And so Annapolis Royal was one of them. And back in the day, there was still significant racism and segregation. And so while there are detailed records kind of in this area of the cemetery, of the graveyard, less so much detailed records here. And so part of the endeavor here today is to try to uncover just how many Black loyalists might be buried here, again, dating back to the 1700s, 1800s. And one of the people who's heading up this project, who's helping to get it off the ground and get it underground, is Micah Cromwell. She's actually a descendant of Black loyalists. Here she is explaining the importance of a project like this.
Today is all about literally uncovering some of their history that we may not have known before. For example, I grew up here and had no idea that there was a section of the graveyard that had Black loyalists and their descendants buried. I knew about the Acadians and the British, but I had no idea that some of my people were here as well. So I think it's really important to get kind of a broader picture of the history.
And now this isn't the first time that this type of technology has been used. In fact, this same team was able to uncover and determine the age of some Acadian graves just a short distance from here as well, dating this graveyard back to the late 1600s, around 1680, making this one of the oldest, if not the oldest, European graveyard in what is now Canada. And so this is the latest effort to uncover more details of the history of this site here, again with crews working to look beneath the ground using that ground penetrating radar to find out more about the past. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Annapolis Royal, Nova Scotia.
Okay, so time to look at the long range. We've been having some beautiful weather and beautiful temperatures lately. How much longer is that going to continue?
It's going to stick around for at least through midweek, maybe even a little bit further than that for some areas. We could break some records again through midweek as well. Definitely going to keep an eye on that one. But things are going to get a little bit more unsettled, though, as we head through Wednesday. Let's take a look at the forecast for your Wednesday morning. You can see some of those showers possible along the west coast, south coast of the island. A little bit more cloud cover in play as well. But as we head through the afternoon, we should see some sun peek out. I think it'll be a little less cloudy than this model is showing through the day on Wednesday. Some showers possible up across the Big Land as well, particularly in the west, maybe towards the coast as well. But overall, clearing skies as we get into the evening hours. But the temperatures have 20 degrees in there for you for Gander, so we'll add another one to that. We may see some areas other than Gander that we'll see those temperatures reaching 20 degrees for Wednesday as well, so certainly going to keep an eye on that one. But generally staying cloudy, like I said, for the west coast and along the south coast. Beautiful day up across Labrador as well. These temperatures well above where you should be sitting this time of year. 17 degrees in Cartwright, 18 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay. And then Lab City, you'll sit around 17 degrees through the day as well. But again, with that potential for a few showers. Now, Wednesday evening into Thursday, some more precipitation moving in. The better chance of showers will be for your Thursday. And we're going to watch this cold front that will move through. On the other side of that, some much colder air and also the potential for some snow. So you're going to start the morning absolutely warm for Lab West, but as we get into the evening hours, as that cold front moves through, we are going to see that drop in temperatures and then the potential for some flurries. So I do have that snow icon in there for you. 15 degrees to start, dropping down to the minus single digits potentially overnight. Otherwise, 15 to 16 degrees across the rest of the big land, except for the north, single-digit temperatures for you. But again, that chance of showers pretty much right across the board. You'll see those clouds on the increase and those showers moving in. 18, 19 degrees again for the east, central, west coast. Along the south coast, 14 to 17. And then northern peninsula, you're looking at about 13 degrees for your Thursday. Take a look at the long-range forecast. 15 degrees by the time we even get into Friday. Skies will clear for you. And then that cool down will come on Saturday. Sunshine though, but 9 degrees. That's going to feel pretty chilly considering we've been seeing those temperatures in the teens for a good chunk of the week. For central Newfoundland, some showers possible Thursday, Friday. By Saturday, clearing out, but those temperatures dropping. Single-digit temperatures as well. Friday, around 1 degree overnight. And then for western Newfoundland, it's periods of rain for you on Thursday. Friday, some showers will stick around. And then Saturday, looking at about 8 degrees. Now for eastern Labrador, you're going to stay around 16 degrees for your Thursday, but dropping. And then that chance of showers changing to flurries for the rest of the weekend for Lab West, between 1 and 5 degrees. Take a look at this shot. It's a beautiful photo of a fiery sky. Sienna shared that shot with us. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send them to my Facebook page, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Gorgeous. Fiery sky indeed, with temperatures in the high teens the end of October. It kind of blows my mind.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for us tonight. So nice to have you back, like I said earlier.
Nice to be back.
And thank you so much for joining us this evening. Hope you can join us again tomorrow.
Good night.